It was a busy week in South Africa in the political sphere. A lot of decisions were made and retracted. We speak now to our politics editor, Lukhanyo Calata, in terms of the week that was in the political realm. Lukhanyo, good to see you. So a lot happening in the energy space, right? So the state of disaster being cancelled with immediate effect, and the consequences and repercussions of that. Outer heading to the courts, but courts are saying, well, no, it's not because of Outer or any court action that was launched that we decided to take this back. People are looking at this and thinking?
So far, some of the people that I've spoken to do definitely saying that the government was afraid of actually being caught out. Because already the provisions that were accessed, I suppose, by the declaration of this state of emergency were already there and available for the government to use. All the various ministers and departments needed to do was to actually just implement. And then obviously there was then the appointment of Minister Kgosietso Ramokgopa as the Minister of Electricity. So he was then, those powers were already there for him to be able to tap into and to be able to do the work. So when Outer and Solidarity went to court to try and oppose the declaration of the state of emergency. Now, we obviously, the ministers aren't saying so, outrightly, but we know that there was a massive chance that these civil society organizations would have actually won their bids in court to then have this state of emergency declared unlawful. So therefore government obviously trying to put a spin on this decided to withdraw the state of emergency. But I think crucially, Dudu, what this does is that it shows that maybe not all is working and functioning as it should within the within government, particularly within within the cabinet and, of course, the office of the president.
Yeah, the Copter minister maintaining that it was indeed necessary to have a state of disaster. Again, yesterday we heard the finance minister retracting, exempting Eskom from reporting irregular and fruitless expenditure for now, he says.
Now, think about it. In South Africa, every year, I remember there was a time when I was in Parliament, Dudu, where every year the Auditor General would come and report and would say, with the municipalities, provincial governments and national collectively had spent or had misappropriated up to 50 billion rand a year, 55 billion rand a year, 60 billion rand a year in fruitless, wasteful expenditure, So for Eskom, that we know is in such trouble, we know about the levels of corruption that exist within Eskom. We just have to look at the Zondo report, just for the levels of corruption there. So for the government to then say, well, Eskom is exempted from having to report how much money it wasted fruitlessly, wastefully, and it's unfathomable that we'll get an entity as large as Eskom, that's in trouble as Eskom, for it to be exempted from us as the public, knowing how much money was wasted by the entity. So again, a wise decision to withdraw that, because imagine what the Auditor General would then have to report about the finances of Eskom if she doesn't know how much money was wasted there.
In fact, the finance minister is saying Eskom is going to haunt the fiscus in the future. So we'll see what that means as the days go by. The EFF yesterday heading to the embassy of Uganda, Julius Malema speaking outside there. Remind our viewers what he said.
Well, I think the whole issue, Dudu, was about obviously opposing the president of Uganda, Yoweri Museveni, from signing into law a bill that would, in fact, criminalize, I suppose, homosexuality, the LGBTQ community. And Julius Malema and the EFF then marched on the High Commission earlier this week, and they were basically pleading to say that you cannot do that because you would be violating the rights of African children. So, masterstroke, I think, from the EFF to obviously embark on this. Remember, South Africa, when we were, as a country, when we were under apartheid, there were countries such as Uganda, such as communities around the world that would march on the South African embassies and all of that, protesting against apartheid. So I think what Julius Malema and the EFF did this week was to tap into that energy to say that an injustice, such as this in Uganda would in essence be an injustice against every black child on this continent that identifies, as gay. So that's really, and obviously publicly it's been very well received, this action by the EFF. Remember, they don't usually get a lot of good publicity or good remarks from South Africans. So this is one instance where I think globally, across the board, South Africans, black, white, Indian colored, gay, straight, everybody have praised the EFF for standing up, against this potential new law in Uganda.
I think it was 2 days ago we spoke to the SACP. They've made it known, again, nothing new there, that they're thinking of contesting the election. I mean, next year we're going into a general election. And here comes out the SACP once again looking to break away or mulling its options in terms of leaving the tripartite alliance and going it alone. Yes, there's nothing new there, but they mentioned that, they're bemoaning the quality of life of the working class. So, for instance, saying they still need to engage with the ANC. They didn't even know that the state of disaster had been revoked, and something that they bemoaned as well, to say there's no communication between the alliance partners. Pray tell what to make, because we're going to need to decipher a lot of what is of substance and what is not, especially ahead of the elections next year, so that people have the right kind of information to make an informed decision.
I think the South African Communist Party, Dudu, needs to decide who and what it wants to actually be. Right? Does it break away from the ANC and the alliance and stand on its own 2 feet, contest an election, see how well it does? Or does it want to continue to make this threat every year because, by making this threat, no, we are leaving. If conditions aren't to our liking, we are going to leave. But conditions haven't been to their liking for several decades now. And the African National Congress has shown the SACP that, other than placating them in public, that it doesn't really take them seriously. For instance, let's take a look at the last cabinet reshuffle that the president enforced. Other than Blade Nzimande, there's not, and also Blade Nzimande is not in parliament on an SACP ticket. He's in parliament on an ANC ticket. So, yes, he may be the former Secretary General of the SACP, but his seat in parliament is an ANC seat, not an alliance seat. It's an ANC seat. So, you look at the NEC of the African National Congress as elected in December at Nasrec. No one within that NEC really has got that dual role of ANC SACP. So it's very clear that the African National Congress does not take the South African Communist Party seriously. Now, if the SACP is going to continue to make these threats, but never actually enforce them, they're just going to lose legitimacy, not just within the African National Congress, but I think within just the broader South African sphere, because here we are, you and I saying, oh, but we've heard this song before. And now, unless the SACP really takes itself seriously and decide what it is that it wants to do outside of the African National Congress, we aren't likely to see it really pushing through and basically divorcing the African National Congress.
Speaking of legitimacy, how are smaller political formations, as the Democratic Alliance describes them, responding to the proposal of a moonshot pact?
Not so well. You and I were there last weekend, when we covered the DA Congress, and we heard the speech by the re-elected leader of the DA, Mr. John Steenhuisen, and basically saying it is now time that the DA is going to stand up and is going to take up its constitutional role as the opposition leader in this country and is going to corral everybody and it's going to lead. But that's not really how politics works, because how is Steenhuisen going to go and tell someone like General Bantu Olomisa that I need you to do this? There's no ways. Now, him going there and firstly, taking a softer tone, a softer stance, going there to go and negotiate might get him a little bit further than going there saying that we are a 22% party in parliament and you will do what it is that we tell you. So far, most of the opposition parties have all said, no, that is not how we are going to do things. If you want to work with us, if you want our support, then there is a manner in which, that in which we should approach these discussions. It's going to be interesting to see how Steenhuisen and his federal leadership, how they respond to this initial response from these opposition parties. Are they going to take a softer tone? Are they going to say, okay, guys, let's come around the table and let's have this discussion? Or are they going to do the DA-like thing that we've seen at this moment to try and bully through some kind of arrangement? That remains to be seen, just how the DA is going to respond to this.
Indeed. Lukhanyo Calata, thank you very much for helping us make sense of what happened in the sphere of politics of this weekend.
Thank you, ma'am.